William Hamilton, a rich industrialist, had gotten in touch with him regarding a simple vandalism issue. Nothing to write home about. Not worth hiring a private eye either, just so he can drive for hours on rough roads. But that's how it had always been. The client pays, Carl gets it done.
Good new Christmas games are hard to find, so have something that is, wintry instead. Technically this takes place in the fall, but whatever. This is Kona, one of those so-called walking simulators similar to Edith Finch. Is it me, or is every new term used to describe game genres freaking stupid? Kona is the story of an investigator called Carl Carl, who is supposed to meet a client way up north in Quebec, Canada, to talk about a case of vandalism. When Carl arrives at the appointed location, he finds his client dead, which is only the beginning of a series of confusing occurrences in the area.
Il avait été assassiné. Il ne fallait pas être détective pour le constater. Mais il fallait être détective pour noter que le tueur se tenait tout près, que le coup avait été porté sans que la victime ne se défende.
The game defaulted to English voiceovers, but I thought French would be a lot more immersive. And it is, but the subtitles are so easy to miss when you're searching dark rooms for objects and interaction points that eventually I had to set it back to English. If you're not fluent in French, you might want to do the same. This game does a thing that at this point isn't particularly original, where you're supposed to search locations in a non-linear manner and find clues about what's been happening in this snowy and rather abandoned region. Everyone is gone, but some of the houses and campsites seem to have been abandoned not long ago. The game is afoot. Okay, it's not that kind of mystery, although there are some murder cases involved, among far less ordinary stories you pick up on. Reading journals, pamphlets, letters, and all sorts of papers gradually gives you the context for each of the many families and local stories. Without spoiling the answers, which you find out by simply tracking missing evidence and sometimes having actual visions of someone's final moments, there is some connection with native Canadian populations and usual threat of their territory being taken over and transformed by the non-natives. Maybe it's because I've been reading a lot of secret history of Twin Peaks, but I found all of it very fascinating to read and hear about while filling Carl's journals pages with the revelations. That's 95% of the gameplay, give or take. Walking or driving around looking for items or tools that can help you collect more evidence, or enter a building or area, and sometimes getting a little bit of exciting combat. If you go too deep into the wilds, away from the main road and residence, you will run into wolves. There are so many you will feel like you're in the Hebra region of Hyrule. Still, combat makes up only maybe 5% of your playtime. For some reason, the developers still thought you could use the whole arsenal and an army's worth of ammunition and healing items you find lying around. I only used the ammo when I was 30 minutes from beating the game, so believe me, you can ignore the majority of those consumables. What you should never ignore are cigarettes, lumber, and anything to help you light a fire. There is a pretty obnoxious body temperature mechanic that forces you to find fire sources and wait for a gauge to fill. This forces you to waste time standing next to heaters before you can get back to walking somewhere else for 5 to 10 minutes while nothing happens, then find another building, stand by the heater, then get back to picking up clues and journals before you repeat the whole process again. I've seen this game being described as a survival game because of this. And I'm sorry if this sounds super condescending, but that's just funny to me. The survival mechanics are undercooked, and even then are in constant clash with the mystery investigation gameplay. I might have dropped this game 30 minutes in if I didn't admire the setting. Listen, I live in Brazil, and not in the tiny region where it snows in the winter. I think the outskirts of Washington and north of Canada look almost romantic. The log houses, the pine trees, the vast and still present nature. The residents are in all sorts of messy conditions in Kona, but I still find the environment of interiors of the log houses with lumber heaters and steel mugs rather cozy. As soon as you step out of the houses, the eerie isolation takes over again. Even though you will be technically safe for most of the time, you still feel nervous. That desolate atmosphere in a location where it's almost like time stopped, amidst a mystery that may be heading to strange yet terrifying directions, and transmitting a fear of the unknown based on the clues you were gathering. I'd say those are things Kona does well. The narrator is ever present and tries to break the seriousness with some not really funny comments on occasion, yet he never gets annoying. I just wish he'd take a freaking chill pill and allow me to finish reading a journal. As soon as you pick something of interest up, he immediately starts yapping, not giving you time to grasp the context of what he's talking about.
Il y avait de la haine dans la place. Tout le monde dans le village ne se portait pas dans son cœur.
In terms of gameplay, I think the standout in Kona is that the annoying gauges you have to monitor add to a small sense of progression. You eventually find and unlock things that will impact how easy you can explore the map, like better weather protection or better tools to illuminate the way in the dark, or even a snowmobile that can go to places the car can't. And some of those are completely optional things. I still stand by what I said about the survival mechanics though. They feel more like interruptions than complementary to the overall experience. Reaching the end of the game can be done in one session, even if it's your first time, if you don't actively try to get all achievements done. This game has a lot of missable achievements and small extra objectives to complete, but if like me you get absolutely disappointed by the ridiculous plot twist, you're probably never going to replay this. Unless I'm a really dumb person, and maybe I am, there isn't any kind of underlying interesting message behind the narrative of Kona either. Well, I guess there is one message, and it's one even a child understands. Contrary to the Silent Hill inspired badass title theme, there isn't anything clever going on. Do I recommend Kona? If you're subscribed to Game Pass, you're not paying anything extra. I think it's still worth checking out. If the game doesn't hold your interest 1 hour in, it's very safe to decide it isn't for you, and you can get your refund on Steam. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as What Remains of Edith Finch or The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, but it's not outright bad. Maybe the theme and ambience will connect better with you personally. Joyeux Noël et à bientôt.